Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, it is the sixth fast of the holy month of Ramadan. And here in London, it's another sunny day. We've had a little bit of rain, but alhamdulillah, we're still going forward. We're still doing what we can. MashaAllah, inshallah, all the brothers and sisters, you are reaping the benefits of Ramadan. Inshallah, you're busy with your ibadat, with your amal, and also with your self-discipline, inshallah, and reflection to make yourself a better person. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Alima. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah, bakhair.
How's the fast going?
All going well, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, ahsant. Please keep me in your dua, Sheikhna. And let us begin with the first question, which was a WhatsApp question. So a quick reminder to the viewers, if you have a question, you can WhatsApp us, you can send it via email. Alternatively, you can call us and talk to us live. We're more than happy to discuss your question. And this brother or sister WhatsApped us and was asking, is it permissible for a Muslim medical doctor who is a follower of the Ahlul Bayt to accept a scholarship by a Catholic church and thereafter being bonded to the establishment by, for example, having to work for their church hospital for 5 years after specializations sponsored by them? Note, the funds from the hospital will go to the church project, such as construction of the statue of Mary, Jesus, and the Catholic saints, plus facilitating the church activities in the parish. So here a church was willing to sponsor an individual to go and study and become a doctor and specialize in becoming a doctor, specialize in a certain field of medicine. And then in return, they wanted 5-year service for the hospital that belongs to the church. Also, this is probably in America where they charge, the hospital charges for money, and some of the profits will go towards the church and building of statues and so forth. Is it permissible for that person to accept the scholarship?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. This individual, the doctor, he or she is allowed to receive such grants or scholarships from the church-based hospitals for the purpose of the study and research. That's fine. However, the one should not work in the projects or to have activities in places or facilities in which promotes the falsehood. That's important. Sometimes you're there to provide humanitarian aid, treatments and so forth, medical treatments. But other than that, which promotes their faith, is not allowed. So one should be careful with this regard.
I see. Sheikhna, when it comes to fasting, and I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of this, that we're busy eating our suhoor, and then we hear the Fajr Adhan. It may be from the TV, and if you're lucky enough and blessed enough to live in a Muslim country, you can hear the Fajr Adhan. For the sake of argument, let's say it's the Shia timing. So I'm eating and I hear the Fajr Adhan. What am I supposed to do in this situation?
Well, as soon as you hear the Adhan, you must immediately remove whatever is inside your mouth. You're not allowed to swallow. Now it's the Fajr time, exact Fajr time. The Adhan is being recited and called. So you should remove anything inside your mouth. And if somebody deliberately swallows the remaining food in his mouth, then his fast will be invalid, and of course he needs to do the qada afterwards.
I see. Sheikhna, in terms of the timetables that we have for fasting, most Husseiniat and different mosques, they print out a sheet with all the times for the fasting and so forth. Are we allowed to fast according to those times? Because when we do, we don't really give much leniency when it comes to we open the fast exactly as the time specified. some of us find it difficult to allow extra time or so forth for like ihtiyat. So are we allowed, Islamically speaking, are we allowed to adhere and follow the times exactly to the minute?
Yes, if you're sure and the source in which published this timetable are reliable and you can trust them, then of course you can rely on such timetables and break your fast on time, as mentioned. But in overall, especially those of us who will live in the West, when we cannot really identify the exact time of Fajr, there's difference between even the Shias themselves. Some centers have different timetables in terms of the Fajr,
Indeed.
5-6 minutes earlier, later. So it's better for the one to have some kind of few minutes of delaying, or being able to stop eating and drinking before the Fajr time, just a few minutes, just in case, for precaution.
Ahsant. Sheikhna, I think it's yesterday or the day before yesterday, we were discussing kafara and the different types of kafara one has to pay. And we were discussing how someone who deliberately breaks their fast has to, they have to provide a kafara of fasting for 60 days, as well as feeding the poor and also freeing a slave. Now, in today's day and age, we don't have slavery anymore. So we have, one can fast for 60 days. One can also feed the poor. But in terms of freeing a slave, how is one supposed to free a slave in today's day and age? Ayatollah Sistani, Hafidhullah, what does he have to say on this?
He would mention, and along with other maraja as well, that this particular kafara has been waived and it's been skipped, so it's no longer available. I mean, in the past centuries, they used to have even shops in which they sell slaves, live human beings, in which Islam came and removed this slavery from humanity by freeing slaves, by providing all these means of humanity to those slaves gradually. So of course, the Sayyid says it's been waived, so we can skip this option of the kafara and we go to the next two options in the kafara. However, the Sayyid Sistani says that in regard to his opinion and view with the payment of the kafarat, of the three kafarat or the two kafarat, if somebody breaks his fast in haram, he would basically mention that it's basically the one only needs to pay one kafara instead of three, or instead of two. So just to clarify that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Sheikhna, is it necessary for one who's fasting to pick their teeth? Alhamdulillah, after we eat sahur and stuff, sometimes we have bits of food left and so forth. So is it, do we have to pick our teeth if we're going to be able, if we're fasting?
Well, it's not wajib to pick your teeth, but it's always good, cleaning, and cleanliness is something desirable and required, just to avoid, some remaining food during the fasting hours of the daytime. So it's better to do it, but it's not wajib and mandatory.
I see. And what about swallowing the saliva? I mean, fasting is all about not being able to digest or drink, or there's a lot of rules in terms of something passing the throat. Saliva passes the throat all the time. So do we have some leniency here? Is this acceptable?
Saliva is part of the body, so it doesn't really break the fast. No, it's fine.
Okay, so that's an exception.
Yeah.
Ahsant. Sheikh, a question here from the email, and it says, if a thick, dense dust is brought about by windy conditions and the fasting individual does not prevent the dust from reaching his throat despite being aware of the ruling, is his fast valid?
Well, he must basically protect himself from the reach of any thick dust and so forth to the throat. But if he was negligent and didn't care about this thick dust in the street, for example, and he allowed it to reach his throat, then of course his fast would become invalid and batil. And therefore, the one needs to do the qada afterwards.
I see. Fantastic. Sheikhna, what about steam? I mean, a lot of us, I mean, we're not going to be making tea or anything like that while we're fasting, but, you know, when we go to the shower, some of us have hot showers, a lot of steam in the room, inhaling and steam maybe even going down our throat. Does this invalidate the fast? Is this what we call muftir?
No, if the steam was excessive, then the one should avoid it. But just a small amount of steam that we see in the bathroom, that should be fine. But if it's excessive, then the one should avoid it.
What about smoke, Sheikhna? As in, sometimes, you know, maybe sometime in a bonfire or something like that, or you know, like when we burn scents. So you know, we have the long sticks, or I think in Arabic they call it bukhur, where they have you know, to give out a nice smell. That smoke, if that goes down the throat, is that does that invalidate the fast?
The same ruling. If it's thick smoke, then it will definitely break the fast. Yes.
So I think the advice that we'd give to our brothers and sisters out there is try and stay away from steam or smoke or scent, anything that, you know, could probably reach the throat, because you're playing with fire there, and you may invalidate your fast. Sheikhna, for some of us, we're, you know, eating for a very, very small amount of time. So from Maghrib to Fajr, small amount of time. Some of us are eating, you know, 2-3 meals or so forth, trying to spread it out. And when in Ramadan, it's very common practice that, you know, your digestive system may get a little upset. And when you burp or when you belch, you know, sometimes the food will come up or the acidity will come up and so forth. Does that invalidate the fast?
Yes, if anything comes up to the mouth area, then the one should throw it away from his mouth. Exactly. But if unintentionally he swallowed that, then his fast would be fine and valid.
Okay. What is the ruling concerning a fasting person using a toothbrush and toothpaste?
During the day of the fast, you're allowed to use the toothbrush and toothpaste, but make sure it doesn't go through the throat, the pieces of the paste. But however, it's recommended for the one to prior to the Adhan al-Fajr to do the brushing, and if they want to do after the Maghrib Salah and Iftar, which is also good to do so. But during the day, one should be careful to avoid any particles passing through the throat.
That's it. Just a quick reminder to all our viewers that this is a live show and that we are taking your questions. So if you have a question you'd like to ask, please send it into the WhatsApp, it should be down here somewhere, or via email, or alternatively you can call us and we'll be more than happy to discuss your question, inshallah. Sheikhna, you were talking about brushing teeth, and we know in Islam it's a religion of hygiene and also of great mannerisms in order to, like, you know, dress well and also smell well. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, you know, really encouraged the followers to use attar and to use perfume. So while fasting, perfume, maybe perfume soaps and also moisturizers which have perfume, can we use these while we are fasting?
Yes, the one can use perfume. It's permissible. There's no issue with it. The one can use all types of perfumes available. Yes.
And Sheikhna, if a person is fasting and, you know, for some reason he feels very, very weak, you know, you and I both know that fasting, as the days go on, it does get a little bit more difficult. There's going to be days where your energy levels are high. There's going to be days where your energy levels are low. So in these cases, can one break his fast because he feels weakness?
No, it is not allowed. Just a weakness would not give the excuse for the individual to break his fast, unless it is severely harming the one's body, and it's too difficult, it's unbearable to continue the fast, then the one can break the fast. and make it up later, of course.
Inshallah. Sheikhna, what is the ruling concerning a fasting person who breaks fast believing that he will not be able to bear the fast until Maghrib time? So this person is fasting, not sure if he can make it until Maghrib, decides to break the fast. What should we do then?
You see, again, the same question before. The one should see his condition. If it's a severe condition, a critical condition, then of course you can. But if it's just a weakness, if it's just a pain, in normal pain, then the one should bear that difficulty and continue fasting. It's a must. Unless, as I've said, it's critical, it's too difficult to continue fasting, then the one can break their fast, and of course to make it up later with no kafara, of course.
Ahsan. Sheikhna, my final question for this evening, and it's about Laylatul Qadr. And as you know, part of the amal in Laylatul Qadr is to place the Quran on your head and take allegiance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and also the Holy Ahlul Bayt. So, do we need to put the whole Quran on our head, or can we use a part of the Quran? What about a page, just a piece of paper with the surah on it? Is that sufficient? Some of us have, Quran on our mobile phones. Can we put our mobile phones on our head? What's the ruling in terms of the amal and the Quran on the head?
What is mentioned is to put the Holy Quran itself on the head. That's what we mentioned. So we followed what is mentioned.
Okay. Ahsan. Thank you very much, Sheikhna, for this evening and for your time. I understand that it's not easy here having fasting as well as having a live show every day. But from myself and from the viewers, we really appreciate your time and your efforts. To all the viewers, thank you for joining us on today's show on Ahkam SOS. If you have a question you'd like to ask us, please send in your questions to the WhatsApp or to the email address or to the number below, inshallah, and we'll be able to discuss that with you. No question is too silly, no question is too taboo. It is our duty to answer your questions. So we are more than happy for you to call anonymously. We don't need to know your name or where you're calling from or where you're asking from. Just contact us, send in your question, and me and the Sheikh will do our best to answer that question for you. Thank you very much, Sheikh, and thank you to all the viewers. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow again at 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV 3. This has been Ahkam SOS. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
What happens when we die? How can we ensure that we're victorious at death? Do we desire death? How many of us have contemplated our own deaths? With the recent rise in deaths, you find that there is more reflection on death than ever before. And that precisely is the reason I've chosen death, the Day of Judgment, as my topic for this holy month of Ramadan. Join me, Sayyid Aman Akhshawani, every night on Imam Hussein TV, where we examine the